Baik, terima kasih rakan penyampai bersiaran bersama saya di Pusat Media untuk Sidang Media hari ke-11 Operasi Mencari dan Menyelamat Pesawat Penerbangan MH370. Baik, dan jika dapat dilihat di belakang saya ketika ini, keempat-empat pihak berkuasa telah pun bersedia. Jadi tanpa membuang masa lagi, kita terus sahaja ke pentas utama untuk saksikan dan dengarkan Sidang Media ini.
Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dato' Azharuddin Abdul Rahman, Director General Department of Civil Aviation, Mr. Ahmad Jori Yahya, Chief Executive Officer of National Airline System, ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, today two statements will be delivered. The first one by the Honorable Acting Minister of Transport, followed by the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs. To start the session for this evening, I hereby call upon the Honorable Minister of Transport to deliver his statement.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Yesterday, I stated that the search for MH370 has entered a new, which brings new diplomatic, technical, and logistical challenges. Today, I would like to give you an update on the logistical and diplomatic aspects of this search. The search and rescue operations have taken on a new international dimension. The search is still coordinated by Malaysia, but our partners have taken an increasing role in organizing and carrying out operations both within their own territory and also within agreed search sectors. My colleague, the Foreign Minister, Dato' Sri Anifah Aman, will give a more detailed statement on our diplomatic efforts at the moment. On the logistical front, over the past 24 hours, we have been working hard with other countries to narrow the search corridors. Our focus is on four tasks: gathering information from satellite surveillance, analysis of surveillance radar data, increasing air and surface assets, and increasing the number of technical and subject matter experts. On satellite surveillance, I cannot disclose who has what satellite capability, but I can confirm we have contacted every relevant country that has access to satellite data. On analysis of radar data, in the Southern Corridor, Australia and Indonesia have agreed to take the lead of their respective parts of the search corridor. In the Northern Corridor, China and Kazakhstan have agreed to lead in the search areas closest to their countries. On air and surface assets, I've spoken to almost all ASEAN leaders to request further support, including assets with deep ocean surveillance detection capabilities. We are also asking international partners who have assisted us before to take another look at their primary radar data. In the Northern Corridor, we have divided the search area into 7 quadrants. Each of the 7 quadrants is 400 nautical miles by 400 nautical miles, or 160,000 square nautical miles in total. We have also divided up the Southern Corridor into 7 quadrants. Just like in the north, each quadrant covers an area of 160,000 square nautical miles. The entire search area is now 2.24 million square nautical miles. This is an enormous search area, and it is something that Malaysia cannot possibly search on its own. I am therefore very pleased that so many countries have come forward to offer assistance and also support to the search and rescue operation. In terms of the deployment of specific assets, today the Royal Malaysian Navy deployed 2 more ships to the Southern Corridor. This deployment includes the Super Lynx helicopter, which can operate from either ship. This brings the total number of Malaysian ships deployed to the Southern Corridor to 4, with two Super Lynx helicopters. Today, Malaysia also deployed 2 C-130 aircraft to the Indonesian sector of the Southern Search Corridor. Other countries are also contributing the following assets. The United States has deployed 1 P-8 Poseidon and will redeploy the P-3 Orion aircraft. Australia, as I mentioned yesterday, has deployed 3 P-3 Orions and 1 C-130 Hercules. New Zealand is redeploying a P-3 Orion to support Australian search efforts. The Republic of Korea has committed 1 P-3 Orion and 1 C-130 Hercules. Japan has committed 2 P-3 Orions, 2 C-130s, and 1 Gulfstream jet. The UAE has committed 1 C-17 aircraft and 1 Bombardier Dash 8 aircraft. The assets from Korea, Japan, and UAE are currently in Malaysia awaiting orders from their respective governments. Aside from deploying its assets to the Northern Corridor, China has also made arrangements with Australia to deploy an aircraft to the Southern Corridor. I would like to clarify what has been said about ACAS and the sequence of events before the air turned back. On Saturday, we stated that, I quote, "Based on new satellite information, we can say with high degree of certainty that the Aircraft Communication Addressing Reporting System, ACAS, was disabled just before the aircraft reached the east coast of Peninsular Malaysia. Shortly afterwards, near the border between Malaysian and Vietnamese air traffic control, the aircraft transponder was switched off. These findings were drafted together with representatives from the lead international investigators based on the information available at that time. Yesterday, Malaysian Airlines clarified that we cannot determine exactly what ACAS has been disabled, only that it occurred within a specific time range from 1:07 approximately when the aircraft reached the east coast of Peninsular Malaysia, and the last ACAS transmission occurred to 1:37, which was the next scheduled reporting time. This is indeed the case. This does not change our belief, as stated, that up until the point at which it left military primary radar coverage, the aircraft's movements were consistent with deliberate action by someone on the plane. That remains the position of the investigating team. It is also important to recognize that the precise time ACAS was disabled has no bearing on the search and rescue operation. We know that the last known position of the plane, as confirmed by the international investigation teams, was in either the northern or the southern corridor, which is where our search and rescue efforts are focused. Our priority has always been to find the aircraft. I am aware there is also a lot of interest in the Royal Malaysian Police investigation into the passengers and crew of MH370. I hope you understand that I cannot comment on the specifics of the investigation, which is still ongoing. I would also like to state that the search for MH370 is bigger than politics. I urge all Malaysians to put our differences aside and unite during this difficult time as we focus on finding the aircraft and the 239 people on board. The search for MH370 remains our top priority. We will continue to provide you with operational updates, including further information about assets being deployed as soon as they are available. In the last few days, we have been intensively contacting our friends across the search regions. The cooperation we saw in the first phase continues in this new phase. In fact, there's even more commitment to assist us in this much larger and more complex multinational operation. In the meantime, our thoughts remain with the families and friends of those on board.
Thank you, Honourable Minister, on your statement. And now I request the pleasure of the Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs to deliver his statement.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I just want to give you briefly what the task of the Foreign Ministry that has been entrusted to us. First is to seek the assistance from the search and rescue operations. And there are 25 countries that's involved, and we have sent 12 diplomatic notes to the northern corridor and to southern corridor. Now, the response has been excellent, and this is due to the good relations that we have with all countries, and especially the Prime Minister, who had called many presidents to seek their assistance. And there are 9 other countries that does not fall under the 2 corridors which the Minister has explained that has come forward to assist, namely US, South Korea, Japan, and others. Now, this is a very complex issue. We're talking about 25 countries and how to coordinate these 25 countries with different ideologies and system of government. But two main reasons. One is, of course, I said we have excellent relationship with those countries that's involved. Two, because this is something that of concern to all of us on a humanitarian aspect. Now, I have been calling the foreign ministers, all those that involved, and the Prime Minister has spoken to many presidents of the countries and the Prime Ministers. And as I said earlier, where and when that this assistance is required, where a country cannot mobilize the assets, then we will come and assist them from the operation center here. Now, let me tell you that during our conversations, it's, as I said earlier, it is a very, very complex issue which covered a very wide areas, and therefore we fully appreciate all the cooperation that has been given to us, and those foreign ministers that has been constantly calling me and to offer assistance. And I just came back from Europe, and all those countries that I've met, they have expressed sympathies on what had happened and also offered whatever assistance that is required of them in order to locate this aircraft. Now, whatever it takes, I think it's very, very clear. The Minister has made it very clear. Our main objective is to locate where the aircraft is from. Politics is not important here. And I do not think anybody should see cheap publicity of what happened now. This is an issue of major catastrophe, and therefore all efforts should be focused on finding the plane. Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the floor will now be open for Q&A. We'll start with the first session with the local media. So we'll start from this corner, please. Okay, our gentleman in front here, please. Identify yourself, sir.
I'm from TV3, Paris. Datuk Sri Syamudin, di sebelah sini. Datuk Sri. Sorry. Okey, terima. Okey, mengenai dengan simulator penyiasatan mengatakan ada 5 lapangan terbang haram ataupun hantu disiasat di dalam simulator oleh Kapten Zahari, dan keduanya, apa mungkin kerajaan Malaysia sekarang ada menular di sosial media mengatakan di Malaysia tempat lahir teroris, dan mungkin kerajaan Malaysia ingin mengatakan sesuatu.
Pertamanya dari segi simulator, saya nak menyatakan di sini bahawa semasa IGP menghadiri PC kita dahulu, ia tak ada timbul pun perkara yang dibangkitkan tadi. Tetapi dalam masa terdekat, saya percaya bahawa pihak polis boleh maklumkan kepada orang ramai hasil siasatan Malaysia berhubung kait dengan simulator tadi. Berhubung kait dengan dakwaan bahawa Malaysia merupakan sarang teroris. Saya dulu 5 tahun sebagai Menteri Dalam Negeri dengar dakwaan-dakwaan seperti itu juga, tetapi memang jelas ianya tidak ada langsung asas, apatah lagi kalau nak kaitkan dengan apa yang kita lalui hari ini. Isu terorisme ini telah dibangkitkan apabila 2 penumpang daripada Iran yang menggunakan pasport palsu, dan apabila dah disiasat dan telah pun dimengesahkan oleh agensi-agensi risik di peringkat antarabangsa, jelas ianya tidak ada asas langsung. Jadi nak kaitkan insiden ini dengan dakwaan bahawa Malaysia merupakan sarang teroris, itu saya menafikan dengan sekeras-kerasnya.
Datuk Sri, Sulin dari Astrawani, ini soalan tujuan kepada Datuk Sri Arifah. Datuk Sri, there might be difficulties among those 25 countries who are involved in the search and rescue, as some of them do not enjoy good diplomatic relations with each other. So do you foresee this would hinder them from rendering full support in this massive effort? And also a question to Dr. Sri Hisham. Kyrgyzstan, India, they say that they never seen any unidentified plane entering their airspace. So do you think it's now time to maybe go focus more on the southern corridors? And if so, have we received any radar information from Indonesia who are at the southern corridor?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That is a very, very complex situation. And to gather 25 countries to work together as a team is a tremendous effort. But one thing is for sure, we have one advantage because the government of Malaysia has a cordial relationship with all those countries concerned. And as I said earlier, because the Prime Minister is on a phone call basis with most of the foreign ministers and the President, and therefore the ability to communicate and also the willingness to assist and taking into consideration a lot of the other factors, including humanitarian aspect. But this will not be possible if Malaysia has not established a good relationship among those countries that are concerned. And I think credits must be given to all those other countries and agencies also that are willing to come forward to assist in this operation.
On Indonesia, I've spoken to Pak Purnomo earlier today, and he have indicated that there's no new development from previous data and information that was provided to us. But I requested the Indonesian military to relook again at not only satellite but whatever other data that they may have, again in the light of the emphasis on the northern and southern corridor. The southern corridor we face more challenges because the area is huge. The two countries that we are seeking assistance from, which are actually geographically in that position, is Australia and Indonesia. And I was speaking to Secretary Chuck Hagel this morning regarding the possibility of looking at the US satellites, radar, and aircraft and vessels to assist us in the southern corridor.
Natasha to the Daily Mail. Have investigators ruled out the decompression theory that the crew and pilot could have passed out following structural fault of the Boeing 777? Could it be because of the electronic fault that caused the plane to turn back? Are we totally discounting plane error here?
We are not discounting any possibility. That's why we have to find the aircraft. That's why we are talking to all the 5 countries. The aircraft is very important to find the aircraft and get evidence from the aircraft that what can go wrong on the aircraft, either system or structure or anything like that. We are not discounting any possibilities. Thank you.
Datuk Sri Sofia Ahmad daripada Berita Harian. Selepas 11 hari operasi misi mencari dan menyelamat dilancarkan dan berdasarkan dengan pertemuan dengan pakar-pakar penerbangan dan juga pesawat, adakah mereka ada memberitahu mengapa pesawat itu masih gagal ditemui?
Belum lagi, dan mereka juga mengharapkan usaha yang kita lakukan dengan negara-negara jiran dan mereka yang mempunyai aset yang semuanya cukup sophisticated. Dan kalau sekiranya dengan aset-aset yang sophisticated ini pun kita tidak dapat maklumat yang tepat setakat hari ini, maka tuduhan-tuduhan yang kadang-kadang melulu yang bersandarkan kepada spekulasi, saya harap bahawa orang ramai dapat menilainya sendiri.
Okay, the ladies behind it, please. Could you pass the mic, please? Thank you, sir.
Elaine from KTV. Takut, there are many people in this case together with the opposition leader Anwar. Will the police call Anwar to help in the investigation?
We have been very consistent. The government's main focus from day one has been to search and rescue MH370. We didn't bring this up In fact, the issue of politics was raised by the foreign press. And if I'm not mistaken, it was the Daily Mail and the CNN today. Our position remains that this issue is above politics.
Yes, please, sir.
Datuk Seri Anifah, ada dua penumpang Iran dalam match ke-30.
Daripada mana tu?
Helmi from Cosmo.
Where are you? Oh, okay. Okay.
Ada dua penumpang Iran. Dipahamkan setakat ini Malaysia tidak meminta bantuan Iran walaupun Iran telah menawarkan kerjasama. Maksud mungkin ada kemudahan satelit komik yang boleh membantu pencarian ini. Dan kemudian kepada Datuk Seri Syamuddin, kenapa 4 kapal? Kan kapal KD Kelantan ada 80 muatan untuk kapasitas 80 orang. Kan mungkin 4 ini mungkin cukup untuk kita bawa pulang 200 penumpang.
Memang tak cukup, dan saya harap esok pihak Tan Sri PAT akan bersama-sama dengan kita memberikan butiran yang lebih terperinci berhubung kait bukan saja aset-aset kita tetapi aset-aset daripada negara-negara luar yang saya sebut tadi merupakan aset yang cukup sophisticated, dan ini sedang kita fikirkan bagaimana kita dapat deploy di kawasan-kawasan yang saya dah maklumkan dalam kenyataan tadi.
Ya, kita setakat ini kita tidak ada keperluan untuk menghubungi kerajaan Iran oleh kerana siasatan rapi yang telah dijalankan oleh kerajaan tidak memerlukan untuk Wisma Putra menghubungi kerajaan Iran, dan saya percaya bahawa apa juga keperluan akan dikemukakan pada Wisma Putra sekiranya perlu untuk kita menghubungi kerajaan Iran.
Datuk Seri, Sidang Media pada utusan Malaysia, saya nak tanya kepada Datuk Syamuddin, adakah kerajaan telah menerima laporan daripada Panglima Tentera Udara Thailand mengenai terdapat pesawat yang tak dikenali dalam ruang udara mereka? Kalau ada, bila dan jam berapa? Adakah itu pesawat MH370? Terima kasih.
Belum saya terima, dan tadi saya sempat berbual dengan General Nipat daripada negeri Thailand, di mana saya telah minta mereka mengkaji semula playback data daripada radar mereka khusus kepada masa yang telah ditetapkan sejajar dengan apa yang telah kita putuskan, iaitu untuk melihat semula koridor selatan dengan utara ini dengan fokus yang baru. Maklumat awal di mana kita membuat carian di South China Sea dan di Selat Melaka, memang maklumatnya telah diterima daripada rakan-rakan kita di ASEAN. Tetapi hari ini sepanjang pagi ini saya telah cuba menghubungi semua pemimpin-pemimpin ASEAN untuk melihat semula data-data yang ada kepada mereka.
Yes, please, sir.
Assalamualaikum. Amir daripada Harian Metro. Kepada CEO MS, pernahkah ada penumpang bekerja sebagai pilot MAS, dan pada Datuk Seri Syam, keutamaan sekarang ni mencari pesawat yang terhempas ke atau pesawat yang mendarat sebelum hilang?
Mencari pesawat.
Yang daripada senarai penumpang tak ada yang ada background pilot.
Okay, the gentleman there, hands up at the corner, please.
Thank you. My name is Joseph from Email Online. My question is to Syamuddin. The latest reports claiming that there was a possibility of new waypoints have been set that basically brought the plane towards the current trajectory that was checking out. So, though the reports say that it could have been done before the plane took off, or could have been done in flight. So, could you confirm these reports, and what are the likelihood?
I cannot confirm these reports because investigations are ongoing.
Okay, now we open to the international circuit. Please, the gentleman in front here, please.
Hi, Sue Denmark. When do you expect the Hunt to be able to say that either the northern or the southern corridor is the one, and what will it take to get there?
Which one? Northern or southern?
Can you repeat that?
Repeat the question, please, sir.
When will you be able to establish, if ever, if the northern or the southern corridor is the one that the client defines? So,
if you follow the sequence of events from the DCA data to the military primary data, then confirmed by the international agencies, FAA and TSB, we confirmed through satellite data that north and south could be the possible location of the aircraft. So we are giving emphasis to both. But what I've explained to the Malaysian media today was that all efforts is being used now to reduce the area of concentration. And that can be done by relooking at satellite data that we already have, seeking assistance from other friends that have satellite capability, radar capability, primary and secondary, for them, if they already looked at it earlier, to re-look at them. Finally, the using of the assets, whether in the air or in the sea, to try and narrow that area. But answering your question, at the moment, until that is done, both becomes a priority.
Yes, please.
Hello, it's Shulang from the South Medical Study. My question is for Mr. CEO of MAS. It is that the family members in Beijing are now, some of them are threatened to have some kind of hunger strike. Can you confirm and comment?
We're doing all we can in order to ensure that we given sufficient assistance and information and care to all the family members in Beijing. So if there's something that I will definitely look into, but I'm in regular contact with the team in Beijing, and if anything like that happen, or at least as a threat, we will obviously look into that immediately.
Yes, please, sir.
Minister Andrew Stevens, you mentioned that you spoke to Chuck Hagel today. Can you describe what the status of that request is, whether the US has agreed to give you that satellite support? And also, on the northern corridor, there are reports that countries like India, Pakistan and Kazakhstan have ruled out Singing on their radar. Can you confirm that? Can you tell us whether any other countries have?
The discussion this morning was to update Secretary Hagel on our immediate focus, and the details of which I do not need to reveal here. But the enormous area that needs to be covered with a special focus on the southern corridor, which we know the United States have got possibly the best ability to assist us in locating the aircraft in the southern corridor. That is something that I could reveal to you, sir, today.
And on the northern corridor, radar report?
Northern corridor, I indicated today that there are countries that have decided and agreed to lead in certain areas. On that leadership, when the information comes in, we will reveal it to the media.
Yes, please, sir.
Sir, I'm from China News Service. My question is like this. Thailand Air Force today announced that their satellite had to see or trace the signals of the missing plane about the Bay of Thailand. And then the plane turned southwest and disappeared at the Strait of Malacca. Can you confirm that? And does that mean there are more possibilities for the plane to fly through the southern corridor?
I'm not aware of that information.
As mentioned yesterday and today as well, the possibility of the aircraft is in two corridors, northern and southern. We cannot discount, and we give equal importance to those two corridors. And this has been done with our international partners, as mentioned by the minister just now.
Hi.
Yes, please.
Good afternoon, Karen Newton from France 24 TV. First, I would like to congratulate Minister of Foreign Affairs for the good diplomatic ties. It's good to hear. Still, I want to go back on my
colleague's question from CNN. We hear since this morning lots of criticism from countries implicated in the land research in the northern corridor. It seems to be hard for them to believe that a plane could have entered the borders without noticing it. Also, we see that it took you 7 days to confirm us that the plane did a U-turn. It took you more days, to confirm that the plane left your borders without being detected. I have 3 questions for you, Mr. of Defense. Very fast, very brief. First one, what consequences can these mistakes have on your administration? Second one, can you confirm us that you are Prime Minister Najib's cousin? Third question, are you protected by him?
Are you
protected?
Protected.
Protected.
I really don't know. Where are you from?
France.
I think I should leave the French Office of Investigation and Analysis for the Safety of Civil Aviation, the experts from France, here to answer those questions. Yes, I can confirm here, Najib is my cousin. I don't know what am I supposed to be protected from. I do not want to go down this line of discussion.
Hi, my name is, I'm from Asahi Shimbun. My question is for the Malaysia Airline CEO. I'd like to ask that regarding yesterday you mentioned the ACAS at the last part didn't send any response back after 30 minutes. So what evidence do you have that it was deliberately turned off? Because if it didn't come back in 30 minutes, it could mean it's malfunctional.
There's possibility, obviously, of malfunction, but the satellite communication system was still active until the last time that was picked up was 8:11 or thereabouts. Yeah. So, like I said, there's some functionality in the system, except the reporting system was disabled.
Yes, please.
From Xinhua News Agency, China. Malaysia's government has acknowledged that it does reserve some information due to national security concern. So could you please specify what kind of information you're refusing to disclose? Is it radar signal, flight route, or even plane's whereabouts? Will that information affect current search and rescue efforts? And will you withhold information without considering that this risks sacrificing crew and passenger safety? Thank you.
In fact, on the contrary, I've stated on record that we have put aside a national security interest by disclosing our military radar data. And if we did not disclose those radar data, we would not have gone and searched in these 2 areas. And if we did not get help and corroboration from international agencies like the FAA and NTSB, we would not be able to look at the satellite data. So the sequence of events, actually the turning point would be the release of very sensitive data to the Malaysian military. That is why yesterday I answered the question that after this we need to relook how to upgrade our radar system, because we have put the interest of the passengers and the plane above national security and national interest.
Yes, please.
Good afternoon. I'm from the Manila Bureau of NHK TV, Japan. Just a quick question on, just for record purposes, what time was the transponder shut off? And second, is either of the co-pilot and the pilot in their flight experience ever flown to any of the southern corridor or the northern corridor?
The transponder was, we understand from the record, it was switched off about 1:21. And as far as the pilots, when looking at Northern Corridor, we do not fly there at all, as a commercial airline. The Southern Corridor, obviously, unless you fly to the islands, and we don't fly to any of the islands.
Flight experience?
No.
I'm from Xinhua News Agency also. And dear Transport Minister, according to the Prime Minister's statement some days ago, Malaysia's military radar detected a plane, though unconfirmed as the missing plane, made turn back and fly to the north area of Straits of Malacca. So why didn't Malaysia's Air Force send a fighter to intercept it at that time? I think it's a common practice of country's Air Force.
That question was answered by our Air Force Chief about 4 days.
Okay, we'll go to this side, please. Could you pass the microphone? Thank you.
Hi, Melissa from Channel News Asia. Given the complexity of this whole case, the complexity of it, do you think it can be pulled off by just one man, or do you think it's part of an intricate plot, pre-planned?
I really cannot speculate on that, Melissa, because all the leaders that I've spoken to, whether superpowers, ASEAN leaders, they said that this is a unique, unprecedented situation. It's a complicated and complex situation. So my emphasis, which has always been consistent from the start, which is to find the aircraft. And God willing, if we do find the aircraft, we're able to get the black box. And with the information in the black box, we will be able to answer those sort of questions. But I would not want the team to be distracted by other issues, because it is imperative to make sure that within the corridors that we have identified and verified and corroborated, that all efforts would be actually directed to locating that aircraft. I believe if we can find the aircraft soon, inshallah, with the black box, most of these questions that are being speculated around the world would be answered.
Yes, sir.
Tim Heath from Reuters. You've repeatedly said that you've asked for the assistance of many countries with primary radar and satellite data. First of all, can you confirm that primary radar means military radar? And could you tell us how many countries have given you any information of that type since this investigation started?
Primary radar, secondary radar, military.
We are unable to give a very detailed answer to that, because primary radar, any information from a radar is a privileged information for those countries. So if any finding, of course we will tell you any significant findings. But
any country has any country?
Yes, and I would not want to confirm which countries. That's public knowledge that every country has got a primary military radar. The only one that is now out in the open is basically Malaysia's, and that we have done in the interest of the aircraft.
Okay, the last question from the gentleman.
Seth Doe with CBS News in New York. Was the plane's path westward direction programmed into the aircraft's flight management system?
As far as we're concerned, the aircraft was programmed to fly to Beijing.
So and this is part of the investigation then, that it is.
No, that's a standard procedure. The aircraft was scheduled to fly to Beijing.
So this report in the New York Times today, what's the comment?
It could be speculation.
Is it plausible? Is it something you're considering?
It is. Once you're in the aircraft, anything is possible. All right.
Okay, with that we conclude the session.
See you tomorrow.